Hello and welcome to Comic Solving Problems. I'm Stephen Allen.
And I'm Eric McElroy. I did that like serious news voice. Did you catch that?
Like the old school American.
And
Yeah, nice.
I'm Eric McElroy. Good evening, good morning, and good night.
I think there's money to be made in being a pretend newsreader on telly. I reckon you could do it. I would heartily recommend that as a career. It definitely pans out.
Yeah, you think so? Feels like that's come and gone. Yeah. There was a trend towards that for a while, and that moment has passed.
It was a trend for longer than anyone thought it would be a trend.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. None of us bet on that. None of us wanted to see you succeed for as long as you did.
Oh, it's so true.
So true. There you went. Yeah. There you went. So welcome to the show, where myself and Mr. Steve here will solve all of the problems that have presented themselves in the last week or so. And as comedians, we are best placed to do that, I think, because the world's a joke.
Nice. There you go. Satire. Satire at the trap.
Attitude. Ooh. I've got teenagers, so like, this is a sound I hear a lot in our house. But, you know, I'm a professional comedian. They should be happy to have me. Because, like, my daughter will say things like, I'm hungry. And I'll say, I'm daddy, which is a classic.
Brilliant.
Every time.
Brilliant.
Every time. Just wait till your little one you can do. I mean, I know you're doing jokes to him now, and he's probably enjoying them now.
Yeah.
But it's more fun when he can't.
I keep doing really difficult puns with him that no one in the house appreciates. He's got this little stick for the xylophone or the glockenspiel, can never remember which one's which, and he's got some plates, and he gets the plate, and he smacks the plate with the thing, and I keep saying, oh, look at him, he's got a plate of beets. And who's going to get that in the house? And who wants that? No one wants that joke, and yet I'm already laying the groundwork for the embarrassing dad jokes, because I'm going to do them to a high level. Have I told you about one of his books has a picture of a bear with a colander on its head, and I keep saying to him, is that colander or a calendar? I get confused because they can both contain dates. Now, no one's ever going to need that joke, and yet he'll be prepared with it when he eventually goes to school.
Yep. And he'll have as many friendships as you had at school.
That's the goal. That's the goal. He'll easily beat that. Easily beat that.
So we've got some cracking stories to solve problems with. As you're watching the show, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Feel free to like it, I guess. And as you're enjoying it and think this is the kind of entertainment that I think is almost as good as the BBC license fee, you can contribute to our Ko-fi page. Yeah. And even if you don't, we will not send people around your house to arrest you.
And if you want to, what is it, 150 something pounds? You should definitely. It's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Just you can do it on a reoccurring payment.
If you give us 150 pounds, don't worry about giving us anything else for the rest of the year. That's fine. You see, we will do the same offer. We should have a direct debit scheme. We don't at the moment. We'll look into it. I'm sure that's worth our time researching.
Well, my son has more subscribers on his TikTok than you and I do. So
that's true. Yeah, maybe we should go. Do that more often. It's all about having the right attitude. So let's jump in and sort out some news stories. Some of them, in finding a problem in the news hasn't been that difficult. As a man who is slightly thinning on top, hair-wise, definitely not thinning in any other way.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't tell. Slightly, it's thinning. I am often jealous of people with hair because they get to have hair, they get to style it, they get to go like, oh, it's raining. What do you care? You've got hair. Why do people with hair moan about it raining? And then if I, as a bald gentleman, say, oh, I don't want to go out in the rain, they'll say, well, you're not going to get your hair wet. I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to feel the rain on this thing that we call skin, where nerves live, you dick. So it's more annoying to walk in the rain as a bald man. No one really seems to address that in society. Yeah, I have just done. And I am very jealous of what happens when you go to the hairdressers. And I believe the cliche I remember from back in the day. The cliche is that the hairdressers say, been on holiday this year. It's the small talk that they all do. Yep. But I'm happy that in 2023, I don't need to be jealous anymore, because no hairdressers will be saying, have you been on holiday this year? Because no one wants to kick someone off on a huge rant about the 15 hours they spent queuing to try and get through Dover. Now, we've got some the Suella stories in there as well. In case you don't know, and I hope you do know, there's been big queues to do with like the booking type stuff, managing to processing the thing. Huge queues. Some people waited for 15 hours, which is it's amazing. that some years ago, people were predicting in the future more Brits would spend their holidays in the UK. And that prediction was right. At least 15 hours of your holiday has been spent in Dover. So the problem's caused by additional processing time. Back when we were in the EU, you could basically just wave it going like, "Wee," and you go through. Now we're a third-party nation or whatever it's called. They actually have to process the passport like passports are meant to be processed. And that's annoying because you've got to go through, in theory, they've got to look at all the stamps, they've got to give you a stamp. And that takes a long while. It's going to get worse in the future because apparently biometrics will be required. I don't really know what biometrics are, but I know the word means like to measure your body. So imagine how long the delays will be when I'm emptying my pockets to try and appear thinner. Because if they weigh you, no, I'm not going on there. I don't even come out with a tape measure. I think I'll eschew going to France. That headline that I showed you, Suella was saying, don't blame it on Brexit. Even though before Brexit, this wouldn't have happened. But she said it's unfair to blame it on Brexit. In the same way that, the truth can seem unfair. Like, no, stop picking on me. And we wouldn't want to come across like we are bullying the Brexit people. Because, firstly, they've got people in the government to do the bullying for us these days. Skilled people, experts. But the Brexit people are interesting, aren't they? It's the one category where you get to say to them, you won, get over it. How are you the victim and the winner of a vote? They go, you can't blame Brexit. It's because of the way that Brexit's been done. Well, that's one of the options, wasn't it? That's what you voted for. I don't know why you're not taking responsibility. So when it comes to queues, we can blame the French as well. They didn't have a lot of people manning the port. Actually, that's where that comes from, the French. It's not a gender-specific term. To man something comes from the French. It means to put your hands on it. Just in case anyone's going, we should be calling it to people, the ports, actually. No. Although it is offensive to people without hands. And my favourite thing is, of all the defences about why it got so bad, it was to do with an unexpected number of coaches trying to cross.
Oh.
I would have thought that coach trips tend to be planned. So it would be possible to find out how many coaches to expect. The idea of a surprise coach, as if someone's just taking their coach out for a drive through the south part of Kent and they think, do you know what, while we're here, let's nip over and get some duty free. How are you surprised by the number of coaches? So as it stands at the moment, the best way to cross the channel is to try and get a lift back with the people smugglers. So you can look into that. Maybe that's one way of doing it. But as someone said to me on Twitter, and look, I do have sympathy for them. No one wants to spend a long while on a coach anyway, let alone, at least if you're traveling somewhere, you hate the journey and then you get there and you're there. But spending 15 hours on a coach and at the end of that 15 hours, you've not moved. It's even worse. That's why I don't go on treadmills. All the suffering for none of the actual moving. But someone on Twitter said, you need to realize this is a good life lesson. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey, which is good because you're not going anywhere and this is going to take a long while to do the journey. So, I don't think I've solved that problem. I've just highlighted the problem and realized maybe if we could, the solution is if we could somehow like join some sort of agreement with France, then that would help.
Nah.
Do you think it wouldn't catch on?
I think we've got that new Trans-Pacific thing. So when you take the ferry over to Japan, the queue will be a lot shorter, to start your journey on the ferry boat to Japan.
Do you mean length of queue or just the height of people in the queue? Because that's a bit offensive, Eric.
Well, no, I mean, the queue to go through customs will be shorter because we've got an agreement with them. And then, we'll be in Japan lickety-split because it's just across the water as well, like France.
Still not even sure if lickety-split is a racially offensive term in this particular contect. I don't
Why
know
are you trying to get me canceled?
I don't know. All these things seem like they've got hidden messages that I don't understand.
Lickety-split is fine. Now, the coach thing, that's interesting. So when you're saying more coaches were arriving at the border than were expected, do we know, were they football coaches, rugby coaches,
some of them
netball?
Were couches, but it was just a typo.
Yeah.
Some of them were just like the Simpsons turning
I think it depends on the type of sport because the French, they compete against us in all these things. So I think that would clarify it. It wasn't a baseball coach because obviously that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Here.
I still love the idea that they somehow were caught out by fucking Easter. As if, is that not written down? I know it moves. As a holiday, it moves. I get it. Yeah.
I mean, it's only been around for about 2,000 years.
Yeah, true.
So it's still on the new side of things. You said 15 hours. I had a friend, some friends that ours that were posting their journey on Facebook, and it took them 40 hours to get to their destination via coach.
Wow.
Yeah.
Megabus.
So that is
trying to get to Leeds.
I don't know, because the thing is, they're pretty, they got some coin. I don't know why they were on the bus. I don't know if it was just some sort of like, let's get with the,
like Pulp's common people. Yeah. Let's see how the other half live.
Well, because there's a strike at Heathrow, so maybe some people thought, oh, we don't want to fly. There's a strike.
And then I saw someone interviewed on the news who said like they normally drive through the tunnel, but that was all booked up. So, or they get the train. It must have been the train actually. Whatever it was, they couldn't get it because it was oversubscribed. So they thought, yeah, let's just drive down here and, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, I was having a look at the story as well, Steve, and I've got some bad news for people because people you don't like the fact that you've had to wait in some ways, but at the same time, British people love a queue. So it's this conflicting dual identity thing that's going on here. And so the bad news, I saw this headline pop up. Situation's been cleared. The queue is over. So there you go. We solved the problem through the course of the show as the show is happening. So I mean, because the best queue, I've got a favorite queue. Do you have a favorite queue?
No.
That you've ever been in? How do you call yourself British if you don't have a favorite queue?
I love them all equally, Eric.
No, you can't say that. That is a lie. That is a lie. Why do you have another kid? Anyway, you can't say you love them equally. They know. They know. My best queue was coming the other way. This was years ago when I was doing gigs in Europe, when you could do gigs in Europe because we were part of a union. And on our way back, there was a volcano in Iceland. Remember the volcano in Iceland? Ash cloud happened. And it was I used to do material about this, if you recall. It was very much a planes, trains, and automobile movement. It was me, Christian Riley, and Steve Day. And the three of us were we managed to get one of the last flights out. We were in Zurich to Paris. Steve Day thought ahead and booked a rental car from Paris for us to drive over because they both had gigs. And one of them had been prepaid for a corporate gig, which was the next day. And he'd already spent the money. So he was like, we have to get back. I was ready to hang out in Europe for a few more days. I was like, that's all right. He's like, well, yeah, I've spent all the money. So and we got to the friend Calais, abandoned the rental car somewhere, and then queued overnight. And it was just the most British thing, because all British people coming back because the French were like, pfft. And no one kicked off, no one did anything. They just
pretty good.
The French came around every now and then and just nah, and then walked away, and then that was it. It was beautiful. And I used to have some jokes about that story, and I can't remember what they are anymore.
Really? Was this? Well, I can remember your jokes for you. There's the thing about how in the queue you can tell who was British because they didn't want to cause any problem until eventually someone did, and then you saw someone climb in their shoes to avoid conflict.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, welcome to Eric remembering old material. But at least it makes a change because normally he remembers my old material as a story that happened in real life to someone else. That's always fun.
But also, as an update to your story, Sorella Braverman is denying that this has anything to do with Brexit. But in that same Sky News story, if we read down a little bit further, it turns out, we can see in the second headline, there we go, the senior Tory says that the Brexit queues play a part. Brexit is playing a part in the queues. So they're playing a part. And I think if you define a part as 95% of something, that's a part.
I suppose fractionally, 1/1 is technically a rational number as it's a fraction. So
is it?
How much of it? Well, it's the fraction of 1/1. That's how much it is to blame. Yeah. And although also apparently you can blame the weather, and as I say, blame the French, but you can for everything. That's what we do. That's our second favourite thing to do after queuing. If there was a big queue for things you could blame the French for, we'd all be there. You need a national hobby, and that's what we've got. Okay. Well, I mean, good luck to you if you made it to and from France. There's no way you're watching this, I suppose. But although, did they have the internet over there? L'internet?
Yeah, but it's in French, so no one understands.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Fair enough. Well, if you'd like to keep us afloat, subscribe and all that stuff. Keep sending some money. Should we move on to the next one? I do have a review of the Daily Star, if that keeps us. I like to keep it light. Let's see what we've got.
Yeah.
I have prepped these so long ago, I can't even remember what's in them. So let's take a look at what's on the Daily Star website. Oh yes, this is the story of Kerry Katona, who says that she's had worse things in her mouth as she has a golden shower on TV. I mean, that's an epic new low, isn't it? I don't know what TV show this is. I didn't click on it because, I fear the algorithm will think that that's what I'm into. But she's now doing golden showers on TV. And I know she's been in the jungle, so maybe she means eating kangaroo bits is worse than that. It's not. I don't think there's only one thing that's worse than that, isn't there? It's just things that you have in your mouth. There's only one thing that's worse, and as long as you avoid like chocolate milkshakes, you'll never do it by accident. So I don't know. The whole story made me realize I think I need to revamp my career, because when I was growing up, the idea of being a celebrity was you would be celebrated. You'd be a famous person, and life's easier for you, and you'd have success. Whereas now, for some reason, our celebrities are normally forced into the jungle to nibble on kangaroo bits. And that feels like a punishment. That feels like the kind of thing you do if you hate a group. And now we've got to the level where someone who was in Atomic Kitten, how do we make her survive? By having golden showers on TV. I don't know what game show this is. I hope I never find out. I hope I'm never on it. But maybe I don't want to be famous anymore because they make that happen to you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got a 1-year-old child who's a boy changing nappies on it. I'm covered in more wee-wee than Donald Trump in a Russian hotel. I've got that vibe going on. My reflexes are pretty good, though. So, as I'd say to many people, go on, try and wee on me. Go on, wee. And that's ended badly. But, yeah. So that's one story. I don't know if you have anything to chip into the Kerry Katona.
I'll do the research on what the show was.
Of course you will. Up next in the Daily Star website, drivers have been warned about this new emergency siren thing going off. It's not just drivers that need to be aware of it. As a parent, I'm worried that he'll finally go down for a nap, and then I want to know what time this warning thing's going to go off. Because if he wakes up from it, I'll be furious. If you don't know what's going to happen, there's a thing that means the networks, the towers, can ping your phone and send an alert. They're testing the system. And it's just going to shit people up, because what happens if you don't know that this is a practice? Yeah, people are going to. There needs to be some sort of system in place where they can warn people about this warning. Maybe if they could send messages somehow via your phone, it'll be worth doing. But the reason they want to tell drivers is so that drivers don't panic as they're driving and then and cause a huge catastrophe, which means they'll actually have to send out pinged warnings. Also in the Daily Star, Ann Summers slashes Randy Rabbits and saucy goodies by 30% in the Easter sale. It's not them. It's not that kind of rabbit, isn't it? I can see that there's an Easter link because of
there
rabbits,
might be some chocolate involved.
Oh dear. I'm more worried about the love eggs because, you meant to hide them and then someone has to go around and find them. I don't want to know where you've hidden them, if I'm brutally honest. This is a weird time of year for sex holidays, basically. Easter's got rabbits and eggs, so Ann Summer's happening. And on the previous weekend, it was Palm Sunday, which, great time, thanks to the internet. This story, I think, might be the biggest one that we've got. The Daily Star finally reporting really important news. This woman who was born with 2 vaginas, and she's using adult sites to raise awareness. And this is an important issue. 2 Vaginas is my rap name, but whenever I'm doing tribute acts, I perform as 2 Vagina. And great. Good luck to you. I suppose you do have more to offer the adult entertainment world, twice as much. You just think, though, that sometimes life's not fair, because she's got herself 2 of those. There are some blokes who never get near one of them. So this is the thing about life, is that everything's distributed unfairly. And I know this because she's got 2 vaginas, whereas this porn star accidentally had sex with identical twins who had the same penis. So they had to share one, by the sounds of it. So you're up to date with what the Daily Star has to offer.
I mean, that you wait all that time for 1 bus and 2 show up. You wait all that time to have sexual relationships with a woman with a vagina.
Yeah.
And then one comes along. 2. Where's the second one at?
I'm guessing it's next to it.
Surprise!
But I don't know if she can, have sex in one whilst.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Hold up.
Yeah. Oof, dear. It could be on one on either side, I guess, on the outside of the hips. I guess that'd keep it balanced because the body seems to be symmetrical. And I don't know if she can use one for sexual things whilst using the other. She doesn't know if she's coming or going. That old joke. Yeah.
She can open jam jars.
Or is it on her back like that mouse that has the ear growing on it? Yeah.
You wouldn't want it on your foot.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So she's raising awareness and it's worked because I'm now aware of that. I didn't realize it was a thing, but
it's 2 things. Right. Well, our final story, which is probably the biggest story in the world right now, and it has to do with this man, Donald Trump, and he's been indicted. I'll say been indicted now because we pre-recorded this yesterday, and today he's been in court and been indicted, and we don't know what's happened. He could have blown up all of New York City, and we're just like, he got indicted today. We could pretend to know.
But aren't we pre-recording this today?
Are we today? We're today pre-recording it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when it's broadcast, is it still today?
Well, I mean, it'll be whatever. Every day's today, but we're pre-recording this today.
Bro,
we didn't pre-record this yesterday, did we? Because I wasn't here for that.
Oh, I didn't tell you, did I?
Oh, nuts.
Oh, that was that other cunt.
That one. It's a woman who's got 2 of him.
Yes, because of scheduling issues, we aren't able to record after the indictment has happened. But we do know that Donald Trump is probably going to attack the prosecutor and the judge, and that could lead to a gag order, which is basically when they put the ball in your mouth, which is tricky because they make you drool. Don't ask how I know that.
Happy never finding out.
Just because you're
I'm just going to presume it was some innocent thing with a fancy dress party where it went wrong.
So yeah, justice might be coming and served.
If you wear one of those ball gags, are you just dressed as a pocket from a billiard table? That's what it feels like. A fancy dress party, yeah. I'm a snooker table.
I got that special from Ann Summers.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of specials this time.
We'd like to thank our new sponsor, Ann Summers. That'd be nice.
So yeah, Donald Trump, he's. So
something happened with Donald Trump today. It was significant and it changed the course of the American democracy, but we don't know what it is, but we know that it was bad. It was huge story. Yeah. And if you're looking for up-to-the-minute coverage of it, this is not the place.
No, our Twitters might be mentioning it.
Our twits, we might. Although, Twitter update. They've been messing with the blue ticks on Twitter, as you know, and I've mentioned a few times that I was verified many years ago and legitimately verified because they had an application process open at the time, and a lot of us applied.
A lot of right-wing fascists did, yeah. Yes,
they shut down that process because at the same time they blue ticked a lot of white supremacists. So those people. So they've been tweaking this so that you have to join Twitter Blue to pay for Twitter. And so for a while now, the blue ticks have been saying this is a legacy verified account. It may or may not be notable, which is really good for my self-esteem. But now it's changed again. And I still have the blue tick without paying for it. But now it says this account is verified because it's subscribed to Twitter Blue or is a legacy verified account.
So now you can't tell the difference.
Correct. All of them say that now.
Yeah.
So I might have paid, or I might be a legacy.
But it's not saying you might be relevant. Which actually, you're right. That's the bigger slap in the face, saying I might have some relevance. This person we've not checked.
But apparently, to remove the blue ticks is a manual process, and that's why they haven't gotten to me yet, because I'm so insignificant of the original blue ticks. I'm not even worth taking the blue tick away yet.
Wasn't there something that they took the verification away from the New York Times or something? Is it in the New York Times?
Yeah, because New York Times made a big stink about saying they wouldn't pay, so they yanked theirs. I'm not saying I won't pay. I'm not going to pay.
But why don't you open up an account that just says someone's bound to have done this? Call it like New York Times _ pay for verification, and then you're the verified New York Times. I suppose you'd have to write loads of articles, so it'd be a right pain in the arse, but it's not a bad idea, is it?
There we go. It's another business model. And if you contribute to our Ko-fi, we'll have the money to pay for that.
We'll call this the New York Times streaming show. And why not? They're not in charge anymore. Lovely. Well, we're just about out of time. I think we've covered all the big news stories. Anything to plug?
We did. No. I'll be at the King's Head in London on Thursday, and at Crack Comedy in Kingston on Friday, but it's sold out, so you can't come. And Crack Comedy Kingston in Wimbledon, which is not sold out, so please come.
In terms of things to plug for me, this goes out tomorrow, so I'd watch that if I were you. And,
me today.
Is it today?
It's going out today.
Oh, well, we should have recorded this yesterday.
Oh, that would have been a good idea.
We'd have got ahead of this. So we should wrap this up. I can hear outside the flipping, someone's doing the garden as well. So this is... It's almost a soundproof shed, just not when they've got the flippings. They're having the garden redone and there's a drill involved.
All right.
There it is. So I've got nothing to plug. There's radio podcasters, all the usual stuff, but I think we're sorted. Can you hear the drill?
That's just your Ann Summers discounted toy, isn't it?
If it's not powered by the mains, I'm not interested. Battery operated, jog on.
Well, I'm going to do some research about double vaginas, and yeah, we'll regroup next week if not before.
Yeah. Do you reckon she just didn't realise one's a bum?
Well, on the Daily Record, which I'd never heard of until I Googled her while we were talking, it says that one of her vaginas is for her husband and the other is for work.
Okay. I've got shirts that almost are operated like that.
And she's the mother of two. Doesn't say how they.
Yeah. I think I know which one the husband wants. So we are up to date. We should stop before we carry on too far and never get to work again. It's my fault for finding that story. And we'll see you next Tuesday or the one after.
Whichever comes first.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this from Comic Solving Problems.
And if you feel like it, go ahead and like the video.
Or subscribe. Commitment.